In this video, we're going to install the bridge in the proper location on the instrument. Now, in the last video when we were making the bridge, you saw me pull this tool out, and I got a couple of people asking me about it. It is simply a saddle bridge locating fixture that you can get commercial versions of, but this is one that I made a few years ago, and people wanted a closer look at it. So it consists, it's all made out of scrap woods. I think I've got a mahogany main beam here, and it looks like maybe some bubinga for this movable block, and some curly maple for the head here. Let's take a look at the head. This is simply a maple block, and I have drilled and tapped through the maple. There's no metal threaded inserts or anything in here. It's just simply tapped through the maple to accept these two flathead wood screws. And those are giving me the compensation I'm going to be looking for from what is the theoretical accurate and true scale length, which would be the end here. And I set that scale with this block right here. And this block I've hollowed out to a 16-inch radius. I think I used a little pendulum jig with a router to get this shape so that it followed the curve of my fretboard. If you're doing classicals, you won't have to do this. It has a 1/16 groove in the center here that will catch the 12th fret in either direction. And then I elected to use a wedged system for securing it into place. You could use a machine screw. I didn't like the idea of that because with the very, very subtle differences of adjustment you might make in this for different scale lengths, I didn't want to have the screw making a dent in the wood and then finding that old dent and not being accurate. This happens to be about a 7-degree angle here. Variations of that are perfectly appropriate, and it's a 3-piece lamination. So we had the one piece on the bottom and then another piece on the top capturing the beam, and then there's just a square block laminated in the middle on this side, and then one with the same angle in this case 7 degrees of what the wedge is, and that will just lock the piece in as we're using it. So I hope that's helpful, and let's get on with putting this bridge on. The benefit of using a jig like this over measuring from the nut to where the center of the saddle is supposed to be and then adding in your compensation is, well, it's quick, easy, and it's very accurate. You simply put it on the 12th fret. Make sure I get it on there we go. And then lock it down so that the little T-block at the top here is flush with the end of the fretboard or end of the nut, depending on which way you look at it. And then you rotate it 180 degrees, putting it on the 12th fret again. And this is exactly your theoretical scale length right here. No matter what your fretboard length is, as long as you stay on the 12th fret, it will be exactly at theoretical scale length. Now we have to add in for compensation. That's already been handled with the 2 screws at either side. You can adjust them in or out depending on where you deem your compensation is supposed to be. And now I just simply slide the bridge up to those lines, and it has its compensation set. There's more to it than that when we actually go to set the bridge, but that's what I need for now. You can see this piece of white paper I have on here is because I failed to make a clamping call for this instrument at the time I braced it. So this is going to give me a little bit of x-ray vision. Very lightly with a pencil, I'm going to go around the outside of the bridge so I know exactly where it is, and I'll do that again later when we're actually setting the bridge, so I can see that there. And now to see where my bridge plate is and my braces are on the inside so I can make my clamping call, I'm going to use some rare earth magnets. These are becoming far more commonplace. They weren't all that common a few years ago, but they work great because they will find each other through the thin top. I'll take the watch off so I don't damage the sound hole. Separate the magnets. They're kind of hard to pull straight across, straight apart, but if you slide them sideways off of each other, they come off easily. I'm going to place one on the top of the instrument and bring the other one up to it on the inside. And the reason for that will become apparent in one moment. When the magnets find each other, they do so rather quickly and can make a dent mark in the soft spruce of the top. So that's why I put the magnet on the top first and bring the other one up to it. So right now, this magnet is between the top and the bridge plate, and if you listen, it just came off the bridge plate. Now I can bring this over to the bridge plate and I can feel that it's there, or I can feel inside and move the magnet around from inside. So here I'm going to find the end of that plate. It seems it goes all the way across and it meets, there's an X brace that comes across here. So I've got it all the way over in that corner. I gotta get two more. Do the same thing here. And I'll put it on the bottom of that bridge plate and I'll bring it over, and it's running into one of my tone bars over here. So that's what I need to know there. And now, with the use of a straight stick, should have had one at the ready. Wood ones work better than the metal ones because they don't adhere to the magnets. I can mark where the bottom of that is, and I'll also be able to bring this over and find the other side. This is now up against one of the other braces underneath, and the end of the bridge plate. So I'll just make a bunch of marks on here until I know where this is. Now that I know where the bridge plate is, I can cut the clamping caul that will fit. Whether you're doing a flat or domed top, you're going to want to marry the bottom of your bridge to that top very accurately. In this case, I'm using a 30-foot radius on my top, and so I've sanded a block of wood here to that same 30-foot radius in my sanding dish, and then covered it with some sandpaper. Pretty simple jig for making things match up. Now, I can sand this, I can hold on to it and lightly push on this, but it is, especially if I push hard, it's kind of hard to move this along. So I usually make up a little block like this. It's simply got a rabbet in it so that I have a little tongue that's the same size as my saddle here, and the felt on each side takes care of the radius, so I can put this in properly, on the bridge. So it just gives me just that little extra bit of help in holding the bridge and sanding it back and forth here. And you just keep sanding until you've got the shape right. This Cocobolo, being as oily as it is, I'll be vacuuming often. That'll keep my paper from loading up. As I get closer, if I can't see whether I've taken all of the dome out or not, I can always put a little bit of chalk on there, and that helps me see things a lot more cleanly. Using the saddle compensation jig, I've located the bridge on the body, the correct distance from the nut. And now I'm just going to mark that location by installing a small piece of tape, light tack tape of course, right where the leading edge of the bridge is going to be. Now that's nice light tack tape, but this is even a little bit lighter, and for this purpose it's just a touch thinner, which is what I'm going to be looking for. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on, but I'm going to hold it back, maybe a 32nd of an inch from where that leading edge was on my bridge. Now I'll take my straight edge and find the two outer sides of the fretboard as it relates to the bridge. Now that I've marked where the fretboard intersects down here where the bridge is going to be on either side, I'm going to place the bridge back on, and I'm going to mark just the two E strings here, just in general. And I'm going to measure in a straight line right there, not here, because they're going out at a slight angle. So I'm going to measure here, subtract the distance of my pins, and locate where the two outer E strings want to be. Having verified that my string spacing on my bridge matches up with what the fretboard's doing on the body, I'm now going to maneuver this into place, making sure I have my compensation correct. And with the assistance of a flashlight, I'm going to locate the treble E string. Once I have that accurate, double checked everything else, I'm going to use a brad point bit. Don't use a jobber bit for this, get a nice sharp brad point. And I'm not going to drill all the way through here. The reason I'm not drilling all the way through is because I want to make sure I get something underneath to protect the bridge plate when I finally do drill all the way through. Now that I've drilled through, I need to locate this and keep it exactly where it was. So I've got these 3/16 rivets that I've used. You can use different things here. They're smaller than what my pins are going to be, but that now guarantees that I'm going to stay exactly where I was. Now I only need to make sure to line the bridge up, check with the other side, grab my block, and drill the next hole. Now, with a second rivet securing the bridge in place, I can carefully remove the piece of green tape and mark the balance of the bridge out. Now, here's the reason why I had set the leading edge of this piece of masking a little further back than the bridge. At this point now, I can take my knife and cut just inside the line of this masking. The reason I do this is because the next thing I'm going to do is finish the instrument. Whether I'm going with a nitrocellulose or a French polish, which is my preferred method on these, I want the finish